welcome. And what's this? I'm on a train. Historically, that can only mean one thing. I'm on the way to a concert, unless there's like another chess thing going on, but there's not. I am actually on the way to a concert. Tonight, I'm seeing a band called The Big Push, which is one of those bands that's like you've either heard of it or you haven't. So let me say it for you if you haven't heard of them. You might remember about 2 years ago, everyone and their cat was reacting, like all the reaction channels on YouTube were reacting to this guy called Ren, who had this song called Hi Ren out. Well, Ren is a very like eclectic individual that I could talk quite a lot about, and I've got a lot of respect for his guitar playing in particular, which sort of takes on from sort of Jimi Hendrix and John Frusciante, which are things that I quite like, as well as his rapping and so much other stuff that he does. But it's his collaborations where like he really sort of brings out like a lot of different sort of characteristics and influences in his music. Among these collaborations, there is actually a band, and he's one of the singers. He doesn't really hog the limelight at all, even though he's quite a famous person on his own right. And this band is actually like a busking band. It's kind of a different kind of thing altogether. So usually, like, they don't perform in venues, but they just perform sort of on the streets of Brighton, which is familiar to me because that was kind of my own old stomping ground. And so, like, it's kind of nostalgic to see those places show up in all these YouTube videos. But more interesting than that is just the eclectic mix of music. It's an interesting mix, and some of the songs that they perform is like, for example, they've got one where it's like Killing in the Name mixed with War Pigs, and then they'll play like Walking on the Moon and stuff like that. And of course, we were discovering all this like a little bit after Ren kind of took off from all those reaction channels. So about a year ago, and at first I didn't know what to make of it, but it really actually ended up having quite an impact on me. If you've seen that I actually did my own cover of Walking on the Moon sort of back in December, you'll know that like it ended up being kind of a medley of sorts with another Please song and Final Fantasy VII, and that was something that was kind of inspired by all of the Big Push videos that we were watching. So as far as like the band is concerned, it's a very solid band. Like, you know, all the musicianship is great. They got this guitarist from France who apparently didn't know much English when he came over here, but like the guy's an incredible shredder. So the musicianship's not a problem. The songs aren't a problem. It's just going to be incredibly well put together. What's different about this gig tonight is that usually this band plays on the streets, and as far as I know, this is probably one of the first times I've heard of where they're playing in a venue as such. So tonight we're off to the O2 Academy in Brixton, and yeah, it's going to be a fun one. So it's been quite a rush today, and I haven't actually been able to record like half as much as I wanted to before actually getting to the gig. And usually that's because like something goes wrong with the transport. If you've seen any of my other music vlogs, you know that I have terrible luck with the transport. Today was actually quite smooth, really, apart from one little thing. Doesn't look like it's a matter to anything, seeing as I'm at Bromley South now. But yeah, we were meant to get off at Bromley South on the way in, and there was like a bomb scare, or like at least a mysterious package or something that people were worried about. So if I could choose one place to live in London, it probably would be Brixton. Not just because like the constant gigs now going on there. I've been to many as part of like vlogs on this channel. Like I've seen Maximum and Hormone, Cafe Tacuba. That's just the ones, like probably more than that actually. But I've also seen Incubus there a while back. Um, who else? Pretty sure I saw Mannix in that area. I'm not entirely sure. The thing is, I've seen a lot of bands in Brixton, but it's also just a cool place to be in. I really enjoyed it. I wanted to film more stuff heading in. We came across like a skate park and stuff, like while we were walking around looking for stuff. But to be honest, it was just a bit of a rush the entire time. And when we got to the venue, we were there for maybe 5 minutes at most before being shepherded around the entire building, just going completely around the houses. So it was a bit like just constantly on the go, and they've got like a whole system where I was trying to make sure that like my tickets were ready, and I brought a bag with me to carry my like cane so I can walk around London, and it's bigger than regulation size, just a whole bunch of things to worry about there. But actually, they were quite courteous about it. There was no problems at all. Anyway, talking about the concert itself now. Yeah, I got a lot wrong about the Big Push, about who they were, and it's silly because I have actually looked into them before. But before I get into the Big Push, let me talk a little bit, just cover over the opening act, which was a band called the Gulls. If I had to guess, just based on the name and the fact that the Big Push was centered in Brighton for quite a lot of their um, their beginnings, I'm guessing that this is also from Brighton. Like the Gulls is kind of like a big part of like the you know Brighton and Hove Albion football team and all that. So yeah, the Gulls. What can I say about them? Kind of like rock and roll, but like a little bit alternative rock as well. To be honest, the thing that it reminded me of the most was Jane's Addiction. It was exactly like a Jane's Addiction band, not exactly like a Jane's Addiction cover band or anything, but that was the vibe I got 100%. And this is kind of a good jumping off point to describe what I thought of them, because Jane's Addiction, you go back to like the Nothing's Shocking album, and that was probably at that point pushing boundaries, but then that sound became very cliche from like the 90s onwards. So it was fine. There were a few good standout moments, but otherwise it was just quite cliche. Literally, I was thinking like during a couple of the songs, it's like if this band was playing in a pub, you'd say that they were too good to be playing in that pub. But that would probably be about the limit. I feel like I'm being a bit harsh about that, and to be honest, where the fuck is my band, right? So, fair assessment. Um, but it just like it was lacking something in like the songs sort of department. There was one really good one. I think it was called like Freak or something. Um, that was good. That one had like a progressive element to it, so it got that one got quite interesting. But when they got more into the rock and roll stuff in the second half of the set, not so much. Then the Big Push came on, and straight away, I think that it took a while for them to come on. It was probably like a good hour in between sets. That was quite a long hour, I'll be honest. But once they came on, it really made the difference. Like we're talking like the hooks of the songs. We're talking about the characteristics of the songs. Everything just stood out that bit more. And this brings me on to like talking about the Big Push generally. So I said earlier that it was kind of like a cover band, sort of busking and stuff. I completely forgot about like all the stuff that I had already read about them ages ago. So, as I mentioned, my wife gets into Ren and discovers Ren through like all of the music reaction channels and stuff on YouTube, and then that starts her off, and then consequently me on a bit of a journey of discovering other music of Ren's. And at some point we come across the Big Push. Now all the videos we came across of the Big Push were from them busking in Brighton, but it turns out like the band actually were going like quite some time ago. I think they did like one album, and then they kind of just fizzled out. It went away. But all the different members at some point or another had said that they'd love to get back and do it again. And it turns out that busking, all of those videos we saw of them busking in the streets of Brighton, was part of them like getting back together and seeing how things felt. And from that, they clearly felt like there was something there, so that's why they've put together this tour and also have recorded a new album. And so a lot of the songs were actually originals, which wasn't something I was expecting, and a lot of the original songs were from this new album. And what can I say about it? I mean, like, it's pop rock to an extent, some of it heavier, some of it going a little bit into the dream pop kind of direction slightly, but overall feeling somewhere between like When I Saw Andershin and a little bit Arctic Monkeys as well. Yeah, it was good. It was good. I liked it. What I can definitely say about it is the musicianship. It's just completely there. Drum parts are really exciting. The three sort of frontmen, and that is kind of how it works. They also take Ren's kind of like the main singer, but they all kind of like passed around the song, like the singing duties and the bass duties and the lead guitar duties. Remain fantastic lead guitarist. Ren has his own kind of like touch when it comes to lead guitar work, very kind of bluesy and funky. Obviously, the ones where it was a cover, like a couple of Rolling Stones things, a bit of Lenny Kravitz, a bit of Bob Marley, all fantastic. But of the original songs, yeah, there was some really good standout ones. There was one that was like a funk track that was easily my favorite. It'd be very interesting to find out about this album they've recorded. Perhaps I should do like a reaction to it. I'm not sure. I might do. I've got an album reaction coming out next week, so please do join me for that one. It's going to be something a little bit different, something I didn't, think I'd be doing this year, but I'm still kind of interested nonetheless. So do join me for that. Um, yeah, have you seen the Big Push or the Gulls, and have you been to this particular tour? What do you think of it? Um, I'm very interested to know like other people's perspectives, as always, when it comes to like concerts that I go to. The actual venue itself today was quite packed. It was a very hot, muggy, kind of intense crowd, and I'm used to that. It's not like, for example, I haven't been to like the Maximum Hormone concert a few years back where it was 34 degrees outside, you know, and packed inside the like Brixton Electric. But yeah, otherwise, do check out my other concert vlogs if like you enjoyed this one, and let me know what you thought of this band in general, of Ren, anything like that. I want to know your thoughts basically. And yeah, until next time, have a good one.